Stephanie here, and today I'm sharing some easy, cozy casseroles with you. This video is part of a collaboration hosted by Sammy May, so in my description box I will have her channel as well as a link to a playlist that has a ton of easy, cozy casseroles for y'all to check out. This was my favorite collaboration that I participated in last year, so I'm very excited about this one. I can't wait to watch all the other videos in the playlist, so I hope you will do the same. And if you're here from the playlist, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get into it. First up is going to be my favorite meal of this video. This is a Swiss chicken casserole. This comes from inspiration from so many different videos I've seen of people making Swiss chicken or different versions of Swiss chicken casserole or Swiss chicken in the crock pot. I've seen all of them, and this was my take on it. So I used cooked chicken. I used rotisserie chicken. You could use raw chicken in this. You just want to cook it longer to make sure your chicken gets fully cooked. When I use the pre-cooked chicken, I don't have to wait as long to eat it because it just needs to warm through and let the flavors melt together. I start out with half of my can of cream of soup. You can use whatever cream of soup you like. I used cream of onion. Most people would use cream of chicken in this. You could also use cream of celery or cream of mushroom. It really just depends on your taste preferences. I added half the can, and then I added some pepper and some garlic powder. And if I were using cream of chicken soup, I also would have added onion powder, but I did not need it with this type of soup. And then I mix that all together, and then I'm going to take the rest of my soup and fill that can, the rest of the half of the can, with milk and mix that together, and that's going to be a different layer. Now you could do all of that together, but what I decided to do was with my cheese, I put my cheese down because I was using cooked chicken. I wanted at least some of that cream of soup mix to get right down in there with the chicken. Some of it did seep through under the cheese, which is perfectly what it's supposed to do, but I just wanted to make sure there was going to be enough moisture there at the bottom of the pan. But putting this rest of the mix with the milk and everything on top of the cheese, it melts the cheese into this really nicely, and then also allows the stuffing mix that's about to go on top to soak up some of that liquid and not be fully crunchy. It's got crunch, but it also has some of that nice soft stuffing there in this as well, and I love stuffing, so that's probably why this was my favorite video or favorite part of this video. So to the top of this, I'm just adding a little bit more of the pepper as well as some paprika, and then I'll go ahead with my stuffing mix. I used Swiss cheese for this. That is why it's called Swiss chicken casserole. You could use other types of cheese. You just wouldn't be calling it Swiss chicken casserole. Use what you have. I love just using what I have on hand and adapting recipes and making them my own. So I hope y'all will do that as well if you're going to try this. And then I used Hawaiian stuffing mix. I get this from Aldi. You could use whatever your favorite stuffing mix is or whatever one you have on hand would work really well. Chicken would be a good one to use with this. You could also get away with using pork stuffing mix or turkey stuffing mix, if those are what you've got. And then I've got half a stick of butter that's going right over the top to soak into those stuffing cube stuffing crumbs. And then to make sure everything gets nice and mixed together and all those flavors meld together, I'm going to cover this with foil. That's also going to prevent the top of that stuffing from burning too much. And then I'll take that off a little bit into it. Because there's no veggies in this, I had a salad. I had it while it was in the oven because I'm impatient and I was hungry. And then once this was done, look at how bubbly and delicious that was, and nice and golden brown stuffing on top. Highly recommend this one. I loved it. Next up, this one was good, just not my favorite. This was a French onion chicken casserole, and this is another one that I've seen multiple variations on. I did not follow an exact recipe. I have seen a lot of them call for an entire container of the French onion dip mix. I just used half because I was also only using half the chicken. I used half of a rotisserie chicken. Again, you can use raw chicken for this as well. You're just going to want to make sure it is fully cooked to that internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit to make sure everything is all good to eat. I am also using my cream of onion soup for this. Most recipes I've seen call for the cream of chicken soup, but again, this is just my preferred one. Use whatever you prefer in your kitchen. To that, I'm adding some garlic powder and some pepper, and I am mixing this right in my casserole dish. I love a recipe that I can just mix the entire thing in the casserole dish to do less dishes, because dishes are one of my least favorite things to do. I am not a fan of cleaning in general, but particularly dishes will just pile up. So anything I can do in one dish is going to be awesome. I can also store this dish in the refrigerator for my leftovers. So once that's all got a nice good stir on it, I'm going to add cheese on top. Most of the recipes that I've seen for this call for cheddar cheese to go in. I had Swiss cheese still on hand that I had also used in the last recipe of this video, and I really have just wanted to use up the Swiss cheese, and I thought with the onion that the Swiss would have a good flavor. It was good. I did enjoy it. My problem with this casserole, I didn't not like it. I can't put my finger on why I did not enjoy this one quite as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it. Maybe I'll try it again with the cream of chicken soup and the cheddar cheese. But in general, this one just left me not wanting to necessarily make it again. So again, not bad. I just didn't prefer it. It wasn't a favorite. Over the top, I'm finally using up all of those crispy onions that I've had in my pantry forever. And then it got nice and bubbly. And again, it was decent. It just wasn't my favorite. Corn casserole coming up next. I was going to make a casserole that was chili on the bottom and then cornbread on the top. But for some reason on this day, corn casserole with chili just sounded better to me, so that is what I decided to do. Starting out with the cornbread portion of the corn casserole. So I could use a boxed mix, but I have some self-rising cornmeal on hand that I was going to use up. So if you have Jif or Martha White or anything like that on hand, you could use that for this too. It's a pretty standard corn casserole. So I had my half a cup of the self-rising cornmeal, 2/3 of a cup of flour, and then I've got a tablespoon of sugar and 2 eggs going into this. I'm going to mix that up really well, get that egg all incorporated, and then go ahead with the rest of the ingredients, which is going to be a little bit of sour cream. Now, I had just a small amount of sour cream left in this container, so this was perfect to use that up. I've been loving using up things from my fridge and pantry. I haven't been doing a pantry challenge right now, but I have been trying to work through it a little bit more. And then I'll probably do a pantry challenge later in the year. And then I added my corn. I did a can drained of corn, whole kernel corn, and then 1 can not drained of the cream corn, because that would defeat the purpose of the creamed corn if you were to drain and rinse the creamed corn. I mix all of that together, and then once that's all mixed a bit, I'm going to add in my cheese, because I wanted to do a cheesy version of a corn casserole. You could just leave it at this as well. I had just a small amount of Mexican cheese to use up, so I dumped that one right in. I thought that would work really well because I was going to be having this with chili, and that did give it just that little bit of extra flavor using the Mexican blend cheese, but you can use cheddar or whichever cheese you've got on hand in your kitchen. And then because that wasn't a lot of cheese, I opened up a new bag of cheddar cheese, just plain old cheddar cheese, and added some of that to fill in the rest of that cheese craving that I was having. And then I put this into a buttered dish. I normally would just use a butter wrapper, but I didn't have any on hand, so I put about half a tablespoon of butter into the oven, let that warm up while I was doing this. You could also make this in a cast iron skillet with butter. I have not learned how to use cast iron yet, and I don't have a cast iron skillet other than a teeny tiny individual serving one. So I'm just using a glass baking dish and being careful because it's hot, and I just took it out of the oven and wiping my butter around and pouring that right in and putting it into the oven. Now, I wanted this with chili, and I like to keep chili on hand in my freezer. So I will batch cook. I can't talk anymore. That happens, when I get towards this point of the video. If you're new here, you can expect that at least once per video that I will trip over my words. So I batch cook my chili, and then I put it in the freezer in little bags where they're nice and thin. Well, they're not little bags, but I make them little by making it nice and thin. I put them on a baking sheet in the freezer and then pull the baking sheet out once everything has frozen nice and flat. And then that works so well to just put this on the stovetop, put a lid on it, and let it simmer and thaw and cook while this is in the oven. That got nice and golden brown on top. I put my chili over the top of it, a little bit more cheese, and then garnished it with some red onion, and it was a delicious meal. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and it gave you some inspiration for some cozy casseroles. If it did, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss future content coming out for 2024. Don't forget to check out the playlist. If you're not here from the playlist, check out that playlist and get some great cozy casserole ideas. Thank you so much, Sammy, for hosting and for letting me be a part of this collaboration again this year.